The 4.0 update is giving us our first taste of Fontaine, with a ton of new sights, characters, and a few mysteries. The first area of Fontaine may not look huge, but there are plenty of hidden gems scattered throughout the Nation of Justice. Fontaine gives us a more modern side of Genshin Impact, diving into a nation that takes a lot of inspiration from an earlier time in France. There are plenty of Victorian-styled wares, fancy dogs, and this. As I was wandering around, I happened to notice that the back of the Opera Epiclese looked hauntingly familiar to a popular execution tool in early France, the guillotine. Though this is much larger than an actual guillotine, and as far as I know, doesn't actually operate as one, I think this is a pretty cool reference to where Genshin got a lot of its inspiration for Fontaine, and I am curious if the platform below this guillotine is where the duels in Fontaine are held. I don't know, but I'm sure we will see as new updates start to roll out. The guillotine isn't the Opera Epiclese's only interesting feature. Out front is the Fountain of Lucine, where if you stand in the lowest level of the fountain, you can hear a girl crying. And if you turn the volume on your effects and music all the way down, you can actually hear it pretty clearly. There is no info on who is crying, but to me it sounds a lot like our Hydro Archon Farina, and I wonder if this might be foreshadowing a certain prophecy that has been going around Fontaine lately. What is the prophecy again, Linny?
It says that every person in Fontaine is born with sin. No matter how the Nation of Justice holds trial after trial, this sin cannot be absolved. Until one day, the water levels in Fontaine will rise, and the sinful people will slowly be drowned. In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Well, whether the prophecy is linked to what sounds like Farina crying or not, I'm sure we will find out soon. While exploring, I ran across these tainted water phantasms, which are basically the Hydro Eidolons from the Valerium Mirage in 3.8, but a lot angrier. And as I watched these monsters' movements, I noticed something oddly familiar about one of their animations. The phantasms will start to move their water droplets around them in a circular motion that very much resembles the movement you get of a loading or buffering screen. I don't know if this was meant to imitate a buffering screen, but I found this oddly amusing and sat there watching this for at least a few minutes. Speaking of the Hydro Phantasms, there are two local legends found in the Nation of Fontaine that make any other phantasm seem like, well, nothing more than a puddle of water. They are called Ninian and Vivian of the Lake. These mini-bosses have a ridiculously deep HP bar, and not just that, they can easily take you out in under 2 hits if you're not careful. Ninian of the Lake can be found in the northern bank area of the Boreal region, and Vivian of the Lake can be found in the northernmost area of the Court of Fontaine. You'll definitely know you found them if you see a ritual circle cast on the ground that's emitting quite the aura. These bosses are tough, and I'm just glad I don't have to fight them both at the same time. During the world quest Aqueous Tidemarks, you will meet the sketchiest of NPCs, Virgil, and you both will dive into a sunken portion of Old Fontaine called the Institute of Natural Philosophy. You will witness a few relics of our past journeys in Teyvat, but what really shocked me was to see a pile of forbidden knowledge that we ran across in the Chasm of Liyue, along with some scarlet quartz from Dragonspine off to the side. Both of these items are a long way from home, and this was all hidden behind a locked door that you get the key to after finishing this quest. The forbidden knowledge is in the center of the room, with cameras at every angle, and unfortunately you cannot interact with any of them, but I was just shocked to see them all the way in Fontaine, bringing up a huge question. How did the forbidden knowledge make it all the way to this Fontainian Institute, especially with how dangerous it is? The Boreal region, in my own opinion, has some of the most captivating landscapes in Fontaine for 4.0, and I'm sure you've all noticed these spines piercing into the sky. Well, these are bones. Pretty much the entire northern landscape of the Boreal region is made of a skeleton, and I wasn't sure what the bones belonged to until I explored the northern coast of the Boreal region, and then it all made sense. Kinda. There is a skull of a dragon that is partially submerged into the ocean, but even though it's partly underwater, you can really tell the mass size of this creature. It is huge. I'm not exactly sure which dragon this is, or whether this is the missing Hydro Dragon, even if I have my own ideas on where the missing dragon might actually be, but the skeleton left behind by the Northern Boreal Dragon is definitely quite the sight to take in. Even with the first section of Fontaine not being completely massive, there is still plenty of things to see and do, and I'm sure everything that is to come is going to be even more crazy. To be honest, I can't wait. If you have any interesting or mysterious things that you found in Fontaine so far, please share them down in the comments below with me. If you are enjoying my videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton on the channel here, and it is very much appreciated. Also, if you're wanting to catch my streams, I stream on Twitch every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain State Time. And with that being said, I am Voodoo Plague, and I will see you guys in the next video.